As Donald Trump continues to crash in the polls and as new revelations from the Epstein Files continue to crush him and his regime, Donald Trump is moving the United States closer to a full-scale war against Iran, moving another aircraft carrier group close to Iran, and we're learning that war could be imminent. Axios is reporting that there is evidence that a U.S. war with Iran is now imminent, and Israel, along with the United States, is preparing for a scenario of war within just a few days. It is expected to include a full-scale war, not just some, minor strikes, if you will. Weeks-long, full-fledged war. Unlike the Venezuela operation, sources say, joint U.S.-Israeli campaign that will be much broader than what we saw with the 12-day war in June. The U.S. Armada now consists of 2 aircraft carriers, 12 warships, hundreds of fighter jets, and multiple air defense systems. More than 150 U.S. military cargo flights have been moving weapon systems and ammunition to the Middle East. Another 50 fighter jets in 24 hours are expected to be in the region, including F-35s, F-22s, and F-16s. And now we're seeing oil prices surge above $64 a barrel on this news. You can see right here just what the assets look like in the region. And notably, this seems to be a U.S.-Israeli operation. Doesn't seem to have the support of any broader international community at this point. Again, this armada, as Trump is calling it, is growing. And as I stated at the outset of this video, it is so obviously a distraction, a wag the dog scenario from the Epstein Files, from the disastrous economy, from the fact that Donald Trump is crashing in the polls. He's about to get the United States into a massive war in the Middle East where the lives of our troops will be in jeopardy. Now, one of Donald Trump's biggest critics, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, just posted, Americans do not want to go to war with Iran. They want to be able to afford their lives and just get ahead. They want to be happy and enjoy life. They want their government to put elite pedos in jail, and they voted for no more foreign wars and no more regime change. So what does Donald Trump do in response? What has he been posting all last night and into the morning? QAnon memes. And this is how Donald Trump is also trying to deal with his base who's turning on him based on the cover-up of the Epstein Files. He posts this bizarre meme again that says, I will be the one to shut it down. And it has Donald Trump looking ominously at the camera. I will be the one to shut it down. And this is called a Q drop. This is straight out of QAnon right here, and it's telling the cult that there's a deeper conspiracy that's happening, and he's the one who's going to shut it down. And as I said in a video I did earlier today, shut what down? You're shutting the government down right now. You're shutting our economy down right now. You're shutting people's healthcare down right now. You're shutting the hopes and future of Americans right now. Is that what you mean by shutting it down? So while that's going on, don't look away from the corruption taking place. Corruption isn't even the right word. I mean, it's just abject criminality on scales we've never even seen before or even fathomed here in the United States. Look, you've got Eric Trump and Don Jr. on CNBC this morning bragging about the quid pro quos, how they are using their daddy's position in the Oval Office to extract money from companies. And the host of CNBC, Eisen, says, so the critics say people are just trying to curry favor with you. And that's why they're here at this conference and everything that you're doing, because this is what they know you're holding over their head if they want to get government contracts. And you'll see Eric Trump and Don Jr. don't even deny it. Here, play this clip.
Exciting.
Well, you know what the critics would say. They'd say that the credibility factor is the Trump name and the Trump White House, and that everyone, is here to curry favor.
I think the great irony here is they didn't give us much of a choice. When you had they created this monster. When you had every big bank in the world for doing nothing wrong, just based on the fact that we all wore a hat that said "Make America Great Again." My father happened to be running as a Republican. canceled us. I mean, I was getting these calls, 300 bank accounts, Capital One, in the middle of the night. These are commercial buildings, residential buildings, golf courses, are around the world. These aren't political entities. And they were pulling these accounts from us like we were absolute dogs. We couldn't pay our vendors. We couldn't pay employees. And so we said, listen, there has to be a better way.
They're used to being able to do that to people who have no ability to fight back.
They go on to whine. They say we were the most canceled people in 2021, 2022. So we had to do this corruption right now. We have to do it. We need our retribution. They literally say, I want you to watch this. Don Jr. and Eric are like, we need our retribution. Just think about that. As you're suffering today, as you're scared today, as your family is under attack by this regime, these sickos who are covering up for a child sex trafficking ring in the Oval Office, they have Eric and Don out there saying, this is our retribution. You are their retribution. You feeling pain, you suffering, you struggling to pay rent, you struggling to pay your mortgage, the pain and suffering of your family, they're gloating right now. That's what they're doing. Just watch it here. Play this clip.
I'm curious what you're trying to accomplish here, because it's not just a crypto conference. World Liberty is a crypto company, but you have CEOs from Goldman Sachs and big hedge fund managers. What's the goal?
I think we're trying to modernize finance. We're the most canceled people in the world in 2020, 2021. And it's really great to almost have this retribution where all of a sudden we start pushing an agenda. Our agenda was to modernize finance, to allow that to never, ever, ever happen to anybody again.
Let's face it, after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night or a great next day. That is until I found pre-alcohol. ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night. Drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Every time I have pre-alcohol before drinks, I notice a difference the next day. Even after a night out, I can confidently plan on having a great next day without worrying. Ready to try it? Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas now. You'll get 15% off your first order when you use Meidas at checkout. Plus, it's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so there's no risk. Subscriptions are also available for maximum consistency. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Meidas and use the code Meidas at checkout for 15% off.
And who does the Epstein class represent? People like this. Former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. And here's what ProPublica just reported. Haven't they been doing a great job at ProPublica? So rather than turn former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez over to immigration officials when he was released from prison less than 4 years into a 45-year sentence when Trump pardoned him a few weeks back, the Trump regime paid to transport him to a posh New York City hotel so they can party together. You can't make this stuff up. They partied together at the Waldorf Astoria, the Epstein class, Hernandez, right-wing oligarchs, partying in the Waldorf Astoria. But when it comes to former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez, who was tried and convicted in the U.S. in 2024 and sentenced to 45 years in prison for taking bribes and allowing traffickers to export more than 400 tons of cocaine to the U.S. and said, get those drugs up the gringo's nose and kill him. That's what came out in the federal trial. Trump, he's not treating this guy like he treats other immigrants. You get to go to the Waldorf Astoria and party away. You know who paid for that? The taxpayers paid for it. But if you listen to what the Trump regime's saying, actually, no one's paying for any of this. It's all a party. Everybody's living the great life, living la vida loca. Right, Trump regime. I mean, they had their trade representative, Jameson Greer, yesterday on CNBC, who claimed that tariffs are not regressive. As our friend economist Justin Wolfers explains, it's hard to believe that you could be the trade representative for a major power and not know that tariffs are the very definition of regressive. My Econ 101 students know what the word regressive means and that tariffs are regressive. Many could even cite studies on the subject. Congressman Gabe Amo goes, someone please enroll the Trump econ team in Econ 101. Trump's tariffs are regressive because they place a higher burden on lower income people who make less and are spending a larger proportion of their overall income. They literally only care about the wealthy. America is literally being run by economic illiterates. Here's what Trade Representative Jamison Greer had to say. Play this clip.
But the other piece to keep in mind, too, is it's not regressive. Most consumption in America is done by the wealthiest people. So the idea that it's somehow regressive is just wrong. And by the way...
Perfect. A tax on wealthy people. That ought to get unanimous approval in the Hakeem Jeffries house.
What one would think. But again, these tariffs aren't making their way down to consumers anyway.
But again, while Americans are suffering, while everyone's going through this right now, what is Donald Trump doing? Well, he's posting things like this again. In addition to the QAnon post, he's posting, Trump is an incredible grandfather. That was his post. He posted, Trump is an incredible grandfather. Why are you posting that? Well, that's such a weird thing to post. Just think about you, a grandfather or grandma watching this. Would you just post on your own Facebook account or on your social media, I am a great grandfather? Like, that would be pretty freaking weird to do just randomly while we have an armada building up to go to war, while we have you and your cabal in the White House covering up a sex trafficking ring. You post, I am a great grandfather. It's weird. These are just weird people. Donald Trump posts the following. In the 2020 election, states using Dominion voting machines switched 435,000. Dude is still whining about the 2020 election every damn day because he's demented and he's sick. There's more posts like that. And you know how demented and sick he is? Just another side quest that the Trump regime went on. Just, while they're covering up sex trafficking rings and starting wars, you know what else they did? And sending narco terrorists to the Waldorf Astoria so they can party together. You know what else they're doing? Trump's FDA deleted warnings against fake autism treatments, including chlorine dioxide, and raw camel milk. You see, based on the quackery of people like RFK Jr. and his ilk, parents were poisoning their children with bleach in order to cure autism, because these quacks were telling them that's what you need to do. And kids were actually dying and getting very sick because they were told, give your kids bleach, is what they were being told. And that would make their kids sick and they would die. So the FDA in past administrations had to put a warning. Don't do that. It's not a cure for autism. Well, the FDA just removed that warning. Okay. As Sarah Desper says, why on earth would the US FDA take down a page with warnings about unproven autism treatments such as bleach? Such a disservice to people with autism and their families and caregivers could literally like kill them. Like, this could literally kill people right here. Finally, I don't want to neglect the fact, again, that there's a big deposition taking place right now in the Epstein matter. Les Wexner, Epstein's billionaire benefactor, is currently under deposition. Here's what Democratic Congressmember Robert Garcia, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, had to say about that before the deposition took place. Play this clip.
The most important information for us is really about the money. We know that Wexner was Jeffrey Epstein's single largest benefactor. Wexner, of course, is incredibly wealthy, a billionaire. Obviously very well known, not just here in Ohio, but across the country. And when you think about Epstein's wealth, whether it was the plane, the island, the amount of money he had, his homes, much of that came directly from Wexner. And we're not exactly sure why. It's not clear. While Wexner has said that Epstein was a money manager, the amount of wealth, the amount of money that was transferred over is so large that we have significant questions. We, of course, have financial records. We have interviews. When you talk to survivors, they'll all share with you that Wexner was at the center of what Jeffrey Epstein was doing. And so what Wexner knows and why he gave Epstein so much of his own personal wealth is critical to this investigation.
And then finally, we had Democratic Congressmember Jared Moskowitz on state regime media, which calls itself Fox this morning. And here's what he had to say. Let's play it.
ICE, and the reason we now know this.
If you've got a protester that is armed with a gun on his belt, and that person is getting in the way of an ICE operator, you're going to see a reaction. You don't have that all the time. You don't have people getting in their faces when they are armed. That is irresponsible. Of course they're going to react.
You have a right to carry in this country, and he had a permit for that weapon. And so, this has been an interesting debate that Republicans are having, because all of a sudden, you don't have a right to carry if you go to a protest in this country. They didn't say you don't have a right to carry, but you should not be showing that you're carrying a gun and getting in the way of an ICE operator. Yeah, he wasn't getting in the way of an ICE operator. He was filming.
There you have it, folks. Let me know what you think. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 6 million subscribers, and thank you everybody for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.